With Hansi Flick at the helm, Barcelona got off to a fast start. They were high-scoring, and their high defensive line was hard to figure for attackers. But then a potential season-altering injury happened. Starting goalkeeper Marc-Andre ter Stegen injured his knee, and since the transfer window had closed, no suitable replacement would be found. Or that is what everybody thought. In Marbella, there was a retired goalkeeper enjoying cigarettes and time with his family. During his playing days, the likes of Alisson and Gianluigi Buffon were his backups. His name? Wojciech Szczesny. Stay with us as we find out how a retired smoker saved Barcelona's season. Born in Warsaw in 1990, Wojciech Szczesny grew up around football. His father, Wojciech Szczesny, wasn't just any goalkeeper. He was the only player in history to win the Polish league with 4 different clubs. So naturally, Wojciech followed in his footsteps. But while his dad stayed in Poland, Wojciech had bigger dreams. At just 16 years old, he moved to London to join Arsenal's youth academy. He didn't speak much English and barely knew the city, but he had safe hands and even safer confidence. He quickly rose through the ranks and became Arsenal's first-choice goalkeeper by the time he was 21. Over the years, Szczesny played 181 games for Arsenal, lifting the FA Cup in 2014 and 2015. But inconsistency and a few high-profile errors led to a loan move to Roma, where he reinvented himself. One of the most painful moments in his Arsenal career came in the 2011 FA Cup final against Birmingham City. With just minutes left and the game tied 1-1, Szczesny fumbled a straightforward ball after colliding with Koscielny, allowing Obafemi Martins to score the winner. That blunder cost Arsenal the trophy and haunted Szczesny for years. The loan to Roma became a launchpad. Juventus came calling, and in 2017, he was signed as the heir to Buffon himself. At Juve, he won 3 Serie A titles, 5 domestic trophies, and was named the best goalkeeper in Italy in 2020. He even picked up a Yashin Trophy nomination in 2019. For Poland, he racked up 84 caps, appearing in every major tournament his country qualified for over the past decade. But by 2024, he decided he was done. He walked away, not because his body gave out, but because his fire had. The love for the game just wasn't there anymore, so he retired. Or at least he thought he did. Then, Barcelona came calling. At the time, Barcelona were in a bind. Ter Stegen had just gone down with a brutal knee injury during a match against Villarreal. The timing couldn't have been worse. Barca was still alive in multiple competitions, and the backup keeper, Iñaki Peña, wasn't convincing anyone. One week, he looked like the second coming of Neuer. The next, he couldn't catch a cold. With the season on the line, Hansi Flick made a bold decision. Instead of gambling on youth, he went for experience. And not just any experience, a guy who had been retired puffing cigs on some beach, probably wondering what show to binge next. Szczesny wasn't in game shape. He hadn't played competitive football in months, but Flick saw something. Maybe it was the calmness, maybe it was the swagger, or maybe he just trusted the battle scars. At first, Szczesny was brought in quietly. No grand announcement, no shiny promo video. Just a short contract and a big question mark. He was expected to warm the bench, maybe provide cover when needed. No one imagined he'd become the main man. Just weeks after arriving in Spain, he was thrown into the starting 11 for a Copa del Rey match against UD Barbastro. A low-stakes warm-up? Maybe, but he kept a clean sheet, did his job, and looked decent, if not perfect. Then came the real test. The Supercopa. First, a solid showing in the semifinal against Real Betis, and then, out of nowhere, Flick handed Szczesny the start for the final against Real Madrid. It was the kind of decision that raises eyebrows, but on the night, Barcelona showed no fear. They completely dominated the first 60 minutes. The midfield overwhelmed Madrid, the front 3 were electric, and the whole thing looked like it was turning into a massacre. Szczesny barely had a touch. But that's when the chaos kicked in. With Barca 4-1 up and cruising, Szczesny came off his line to chase a loose ball near the edge of the box. It was a split-second decision, and the wrong one. He misjudged the bounce, clattered into Rodrigo, and the referee didn't hesitate. Straight red. It was reckless and unnecessary. Madrid scored almost immediately after, and while Barcelona still ended the match with a convincing 5-2 win, the narrative shifted. The red card robbed the team of a full-blown humiliation over their rivals. It also raised big questions. Had Flick rushed Szczesny in too soon? Was this guy still sharp enough for elite football? It stung. For Szczesny, the high of lifting silverware was soured by a personal low. After months away from the game, he finally earned his shot and nearly blew it on the biggest domestic stage. But Flick didn't flinch. He stood by his man. And when Barcelona's Champions League campaign resumed against Benfica, it was Szczesny, not Peña, who stood between the posts. Barely 15 minutes in, disaster struck. A long ball over the top led to confusion between Szczesny and Balde. Neither committed properly, and Benfica's Pavlidis pounced. Easy goal, the kind of mistake that doesn't just hurt the scoreboard, it hurts team morale. Then came another blow. A rash challenge in the box from Szczesny gifted Benfica a penalty. He guessed the right way, but couldn't keep it out. And just like that, Barca were 2 goals down. To make matters worse, he had this weird pattern going. He'd save the hard shots, but let in the soft ones. He even made a brilliant 1v1 stop against Di Maria late in the game. But by then, the damage had been done. The match ended 5-4 in Barcelona's favor, saved only by Rafinha's brilliance. His hat trick bailed the team out, but Szczesny, he walked off the pitch looking like he wanted the ground to swallow him. Fans were furious. Pundits were asking questions. Was Flick blind? Was this wash-up smoker really a better option than Peña? Even Szczesny must have wondered if he'd blown his last chance. But football has a funny way of writing stories, and his wasn't over yet, because then came the first leg of the knockout round against Benfica. Barcelona arrived in Benfica with momentum on their side, but it fell apart fast. Just 22 minutes in, 18-year-old Pau Cubarsí was shown a straight red for a last-man foul on Vangelis Pavlidis. Down to 10 men in a hostile stadium under the lights. Things looked bleak. And yet, that's when Szczesny came alive. Within the first 30 seconds, he denied Karamartugalo with a quick reflex stop, setting the tone for what was to come. Throughout the match, he commanded his area, smothered shots, and maintained composure even as Benfica ramped up the pressure. Despite the numerical disadvantage, Barcelona didn't fold. In the second half, Rafinha pounced on a defensive mistake to score the winner. But it was Szczesny's calm under fire that sealed the clean sheet. Pedri summed it up post-match. "Szczesny saved us many times today. He is outstanding." He wasn't just keeping shots out, he was keeping the campaign alive. And if the first leg was resilience, the second leg was domination. Back in Barcelona, Flick's men came out flying. Lamine Yamal danced past 2 defenders and set up Rafinha for the opener in the 11th minute. Benfica responded with a bullet header from Nicolas Otamendi to make it 1-1, but it didn't last. Yamal turned scorer with a stunning solo goal just minutes later, and Rafinha bagged his brace before halftime to seal a 3-1 victory on the night. Szczesny didn't have to be superhuman in this one, but he was solid. He managed the game like a seasoned general, collecting crosses, slowing the tempo, and making sure there were no slip-ups. What stood out wasn't just his saves, it was his leadership. Every time Benfica surged forward, he organized the backline, clapped teammates into position, and kept the team locked in. No drama, no panic, just presence. Barcelona advanced 4-1 on aggregate. In 2 legs, Szczesny had gone from question to indispensable. And while all eyes were on the Champions League, Szczesny was quietly locking down La Liga. And by quietly, we mean smothering strikers, barking at defenders, and racking up clean sheets like it was 2017 Juventus all over again. Once Szczesny became the undisputed number 1 in January, Barcelona turned into a different beast domestically. The back line, which had looked shaky earlier in the season, suddenly found composure. Ronaldo Araujo and Conde started playing higher. The fullbacks bombed forward with more freedom. Why? Because they had someone behind them who inspired confidence. Against Girona, he pulled off a ridiculous one-on-one save in the 89th minute to secure a narrow win. Against Athletic Club, he made 3 point-blank stops in the first half alone, keeping the score level until the attackers finally showed up. In the high-pressure clash with Atletico Madrid, he commanded his box like a veteran gladiator, plucking crosses out of the sky and draining the energy from every set piece. His distribution? Underrated. His presence? Undeniable. And here's the thing, While the midfield and attack rotated due to injuries and form, Szczesny was the constant. Game after game, he gave Barca something they hadn't had all season: stability. Between January and April, Barcelona didn't lose a single league match with him in goal. The clean sheets piled up, the goals conceded dropped, and for the first time in a long time, Barca looked like champions, not just technically, but mentally. He wasn't just replacing Ter Stegen anymore, he was outperforming him. In just a few months, he rewrote the narrative, not just for himself, but for the entire club. He walked in with nothing to prove and ended up proving everything: that you don't need hype to make an impact. That experience still counts in the modern game, and that sometimes the guy with ash in his lungs can burn brighter than the fresh-faced star. Flick's decision to trust him might go down as one of the most important calls of the season, because when Barcelona needed steel, Szczesny delivered. A retired smoker saved Barcelona's season.